Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is December 2nd, 2024, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, we watched a post-Thanksgiving Day rally, almost as predicted, and as has happened historically, most post-Thanksgiving Day rallies. Now looking at today's major economic events, so at 5 p.m. South African time out of the United States, we have an ISM Manufacturing PMI number coming out. Now looking at the market, starting off with the Forex symbols, the major pair slightly gaining versus the US dollar, while the Turkish Lira, new lows. Now looking at the indices, the Dow Jones did push to its highs, while the Nasdaq remaining still unchanged. Now looking at commodities, gold sold off while oil remaining unchanged. And as we shift over to the stocks, very interestingly, Apple pivots to its highs and just stalls at that all-time highs of itself. Now the question is whether or not it's going to break out higher. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin trading in a range and continues to do so. Let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to start first with the Euro USD. Now, it did have a bounce, but this morning it's just weakening versus the dollar. We can see just right here, it's just going down about 40 to 50 pips. That's not a bad deal for right now, okay? Although it did get stronger versus US dollar, now it's getting weaker. And the question is whether it's going to challenge its lows again. Now, especially if we break that 5, okay, and we continue going down, we could test this 0.38 level, which is about 200 pips away. So keep this in mind for where we are right now. Now looking at the GBP USD, almost to the T, trading together with the euro versus the dollar, but not as weak, interestingly enough. And looking at the Canadian dollar, we spiked to new lows last week to 141.69. We're right now at 140.39. But the point is that we're heading back towards that area. Now remember, this has been for some time all-time record lows. Now over the weekend, last week, Prime Minister Trudeau, which is the Prime Minister of Canada, went to visit Donald Trump or President-elect Trump in Mar-a-Lago. Now over there, there's going to be a lot of volatility, a lot of action between the US dollar and Canadian dollar, because they want to add tariffs to the Canadian market for goods being shipped or importing into the United States from Canada. So with that said, that's going to put some pressure on the Canadian dollar, because the U.S. market is one of the larger markets that it does business with. So this is really super important, and this is going to be unfolding with the Canadian dollar. So you definitely want to keep the Canadian dollar on your breast. Now the Japanese yen actually got a little bit stronger, but right now you see that weakening a little bit. But nevertheless, it did get significantly stronger versus the U.S. dollar, as we see that as it capitulated to that 156. This is probably a point where it'll bounce around this area. This was previous resistance, subsequent support. Now looking at gold, we retraced here down to 26.29. Again, it's trading in a range, okay, an upper range, lower range, but it's choppy trading, and I would stay away from commodities, at least for now. Crude oil just really churning itself on the side. Okay, natural gas didn't do much either. Now looking at the Dow Jones, we pushed to record highs last week. Okay, the reason I didn't celebrate it is because we didn't stay there. Okay, on the Dow Jones, yes, we gapped up when we went, but we didn't stay there necessarily, and that's usually a point of where, you know, there's a capitulation here. Now looking at the Nasdaq, didn't go anywhere, really. I mean, it spiked a little bit, but nothing beyond 21,000, which would have been a stronger place for it as well. Now, looking at the individual stocks, let's take a look at our Apple. Now, Apple this is a weekly chart of Apple. Now, I just want to bring this for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're solidifying here. If you look at the candle is complete body towards the top of it. That's a little bit bullish, okay? Now, it's hard to say whether or not we're going to break out, okay, because we're right there. We're at that breakout, just shy of it. If we look at a 4-hour chart, boom, that's better indication of where we are. Now, the question is whether or not we're going to have follow through, because today is Cyber Monday. With Cyber Monday being so exciting, okay, this may just push through on the upside. Now, if we look at the other stocks, not as strong. Okay, Microsoft still just trading sideways. If we look at Amazon, which was a stronger stock, not back to its highs, okay, but relatively still strong. Tesla as it made some way back to 344, still shy of that all-time highs of 350, not breaking above that 350 or 360-ish level and holding it, which would be a really big pivot move for Tesla. Okay, the other stocks, relatively mixed bag. Okay, if we look at the bank stocks though, they're still strong. Okay, if we look at JP Morgan, still very, very strong on its highs, and Bank of America still pretty strong, back on close to its highs. Okay, all-time highs. So this is really super important as we're going into this week, because between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we generally have an end of the year rally. So the question is whether or not this is going to follow through. And lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin, because it's been just churning sideways. It's on its upper range, but still relatively, I don't want to say weak, but relatively not pushing us into any direction, but just being Bitcoin, which is, it makes a huge move, stops, consolidates, and then makes another huge move. The question is, which move is it going to make next? Okay, so you just have to keep your finger on the pulse to just see and just action play it as it unfolds throughout the day. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.